Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. It's time for our day one patch review. And yeah, we got a balance patch that kind of made some 0 mana cards stay 0 mana, but for a little bit more mana. It's a weird one. We'll talk about the meta in a little bit, as well as some wild feedback as to why Dark Glare, why Demon Seed haven't been hit yet, and why it might still happen. I'm really hoping it will. The biggest change from this balance patch was by far the weekly quest. We're just changing one word does so much, and I think is a really big deal for Hearthstone. Something that I think Blizzard needs to pay attention to with something coming up that I'm worried about, because we had to complain a lot for this to go back, and also I think, you know, things change for a reason. But anyways, we're going all that stuff, and if you enjoy the content on the channel, if you like, I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps us out a ton. So I haven't been playing a lot of ranked lately, mostly arena, and having this sitting here playing 10 games of Hearthstone's ranked mode, as well as the other changes we saw, like instead of playing 30 something minis, you gotta play 10. Instead of winning 10 arena games or battlegrounds, you gotta play 5. It is by far one of the best received, most positively received changes we have had in a very long time. It's pretty crazy to think the route we had to take to get there, but unanimous praise. I'm seeing it on Reddit, Twitter, on my YouTube comments. It's great, which makes it even more baffling that at one point they thought that playing 60 miniaturizer mini cards was an acceptable change to this, and now we're down to 10, or, you know, win 15 games, right? It's very apparent that not only our feedback went a long way, they clearly saw that people left the game. And I saw so many comments of people that said they were playing less, just stop playing, and a lot that aren't coming back. It was one of the most boneheaded, stupid decisions they've ever made. You know, it's bad when their final solution basically on this is not only to go back on their changes, but to make it basically better than it was at the very beginning, before they started all of this. So I hope it's whoever's in charge of these decisions isn't in charge of these decisions anymore, or actually learn from it. There's something coming up that I am worried about. We're going to talk about the next expansion announcement probably happening in like 1 to 2 weeks. We'll have a video on that in the future. But remember, the last expansion, what else did we give a ton of feedback on that was really negatively received? Was the Corridor Sleeper, the early access card that you could only get if you pre-ordered, making it the very first exclusively paywalled card. And as I say here, now that Play Hearthstone is listed to prove the weekly quest in a great way, the real test will be the next expansion if they listen to our feedback and eliminate early access cards. If it wasn't for this card, Corridor Sleeper, being so bad, it would have been much, much worse. So we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen, but if they are actually, you know, listening to the feedback, I'm really hoping that we don't see early access cards, because I still have a sneaking suspicion that the devs made this card suck in protest. I cannot be convinced otherwise, because you know the dev team wasn't on this, and you can tell with the weekly quest and like the first quest of the event right now, right? This quest, for some reason, I can't show it, but you know, it being blocked behind the new legendary in the mini set is somebody's just messing with stuff that doesn't need to be messed with, and you just gotta focus on making the game better. And a change like this to me is a game changer for Hearthstone, because for the first time, besides, you know, Mark being able to complete his weeklies for the first time, it allows players to go play ranked, earn some rewards, and not have to worry about winning. They can play whatever deck they want, right? If you're just trying to complete this, you don't have to play the best decks. You don't have to net deck. You could just play whatever homebrew you want. Log in, play ladder, have some fun. Maybe you win some games. Maybe you discover that new broken deck. I just think the fact that it says play instead of win should have been done a long time ago, but I feel like it's a mental block thing that can just hurt players, where you don't want to lose because you want to win to complete these quests. Everything's so punishing to lose, right? You lose your stars, you lose your ranks, you lose MMR if you're playing Legend and all that. And then you are also losing out on your weekly or whatever. At least that's taken away. And I think it will help people have a bit more fun, relax a little bit on ladder. We've talked about that and things that Hearthstone players need to hear, that it's okay to lose. Well, now it's even more okay to lose. And I think that's a good thing that, a game like Hearthstone that's supposed to be a more community driven, crazy, fun game should really be about. And I'm super happy this change has happened. I'm not happy with the path it took. I don't think Blizzard should get a ton of praise for it. I do think people like Ridiculous Hat, who definitely helped communicate this, and other people on the team try to help this situation, got this done, and not only turned a bad situation into a good one, right? Like, we're at the end of this now, most likely, and it's a good spot. I think pretty much everyone's happy that now we can play Win. And I know it's a lot to talk about a quest, but I do think it represents something a little bit bigger, and I'm really, really happy about it. So let's keep up with it. No early access cards. You can put whatever stupid cosmetic or extra golden cards or whatever you want into the pre-order if you want. Just don't paywall specific cards. That's all I think I'm asking, and I do hope that that feedback is being taken. So what about the rest of the patch? We had the balance patch, which we saw this change, as I tweeted. Molten Giant going to 0. The Thirsty Drifter going to 0. It doesn't feel like it's changed a lot, and I don't think it was intended to change a lot. Pain Warlock seems to be really good still, and the Zaremi Priest still really good. I feel like the Showdown nerf to 3 mana, probably a lot more impactful. The numbers are super early. We will have deck list recommendations tomorrow, though, as the numbers start coming in. But the main vocal thing I heard about more than anything was Standard, which is just like, it's the same style of meta for the most part. These decks are probably good enough, or you're playing Fatigue Warlock instead, because that deck was basically just as broken. It was wild. With this post I saw on the Hearthstone subreddit, why isn't Dark Lair getting nerfed in the upcoming balance patch? And we've talked a lot about that, a lot about the Demon Seed and all of that, and basically it was stated here that anybody who is at a higher rank in Wild knows exactly how stupid this card is. I do agree that the Demon Seed is a problematic card, but Dark Lair is the big reason why it's become a problem in Wild again. I mean, it's mass production, right? The new 1-mana spell with Dark Lair, don't get me wrong, but that's what's really put it over the top. The card allows you to complete the quest super fast. You can complete the quest as early as turn 4 and theoretically turn 3. Anybody else think that's balanced? You can complete the Rogue quest, the old Doom one, on turn 1. It's not broken, but all you get is a weapon. This gives you I win the game against every slow deck ever possible reward. So yeah, slight difference, right? Personally, I think this card should be banned from Wild temporarily until it can be properly nerfed. The Demon Seed would still be playable and not as powerful. I would go the other way, temporarily ban the Demon Seed and rework it, because it is always going to be a problem. The way it's designed, we've gone over it countless times. That's the problem card. If they want to keep doing pain, self-sacrifice style of cards in Standard for Warlock, it will always emerge as a problem. And I do think it's just a matter of time. When it happens, it will happen at some point. And Ridiculous Hat did comment on this, saying, we looked at Wild. While there are a lot of differing feelings about Warlock from the player base, it isn't a win rate outlier. It's popular, but it doesn't meet the criteria for an emergency ban, and there are several decks that outperform it. This isn't a never, but it is a not right now. And it was asked about, he was asked about Rogue, because Rogue is like undisputedly been the best class in Wild, more so than the Demon Seed, which I agree. But the thing is, the Rogue, you can actually build your deck to beat it with a real Hearthstone deck. With the Demon Seed, if you don't kill them really fast, you lose. That's always been the problem with the card. He did comment on this type of thing where it says, thanks Ridiculous Hat. This makes me curious. Is the exclusive concern when looking at balance either in Wild or Standard win rate? Because I do think polarization is another metric which can make a deck OP. But maybe the dev team disagrees. An obvious example here is Caverns Below back in the day. It was not a win rate outlier. Also, the Mage Quest, which just got nerfed recently, was not a win rate outlier. It just auto beat a lot of slower decks. It felt bad, but it was intensely polarizing, and the only reason it didn't have a higher win rate is that the whole meta was warped around it, which is what we're seeing right now with the Demon Seed, with aggro substantially in popularity and any slower strategies being effectively choked out. To emphasize, I'm not even saying that considering polarization is correct here, wondering how the balance team measures balance, since it can surely be more complicated than a simple look at win rates, which Hat responded, so I should make sure that I don't speak for the very smart balance team at their job, and in general, Wild will have a much lighter touch that is largely focused on a combination of play pattern concerns and format pressure. Don't know why I'm talking like this, but I am, which could take the form of either win rate or polarization like you mentioned. I understand the argument that Demon Seed creates an effective auto win scenario against slower decks. That might not be wrong either, though I will say that I'm not sure Wild is hospitable to slower decks at this point, period. I disagree with that because right after the Mage Quest was nerfed to once per turn or once per game, it opened up a lot. We saw a lot of slower decks emerge. Reno Paladin's the only one that's kind of stuck around because it seems to have some fighting chance against Dark Lair, or at least the counters. I think it actually can beat Rogue. That's the main thing. But other than that, pretty much everything has fallen off a cliff. You see the odd Raza Priest, but that's really it. Before that, you were seeing even a Pocket Galaxy Mage, some slower Mage decks. A lot of stuff was popping up, but it's all gone. They're all gone. They just get wrecked by Demon Seed. It's over, and it's too tilting to face. You don't want to concede on turn one. It's not fun. Anyways, the most recent changes we made to the format are more about play patterns that have worn out their welcome while also winning a bunch of games. It seems to be the point where we make adjustments, and it makes sense to me as a somewhat casual Wild enjoyer. The mass production Dark Lair stuff is relatively new. Not that Dark Lair itself is new to Wild, of course, but the mass production deck seems to have taken a different shape. That's new and clearly appealing to a number of players. But to me, it's just the same old Dark Lair bullshit where you cheat out Giants and play the Demon Seed reward. It's just a different card that does it. That's it. I don't know. To me, it lost its novelty after playing it for 3 games, but I guess that's me. It's not my play style. The biggest misconception I've just been seeing a lot about the Demon Seed is that it's not that good. There's some real elitists out there that are literally just crapping on people, including myself, for even complaining about it, that it's not this top tier deck, that it's just bad. Stop complaining. A high legend, it's unplayable. Where they were citing top 1000, there's actually some stats. This is from before this patch, before 29.42, which show that other decks perform better. You know, the very aggressive stuff, as I mentioned, Highlighter Paladin, but all the rogue decks, the super aggro decks. But Quest Warlock was still very up there. The deck is super targeted, right? That's the problem. All these decks are targeted to beat this deck, and it still mustered a 57% win rate. And I'm sorry, the game's not catered to top 1000 legend. It's not. It's catered to everybody. There's only 1,000 people at these ranks. There's thousands of hopefully real players and not just bots playing Wild across all servers. And if you just scale down, you look at legend rank, right? At the time, it was XL was the best deck. The third best performing deck was the regular Questline Warlock. Diamond 4 through 1, the second and fourth best performing deck. Diamond through Legend, you had it the 4th and 6th best across all ranks. I believe it's right near the top. That's the problem. It's a super polarizing, meta-warping card that locks out a slower style of archetype, and you look at across all ranks, there is basically no slower decks across the mass population that are doing well because this deck is all over the place. And that's my point. That's why I think it needs to get addressed, and I'm hoping the balance patch, unless Molten Giant to 22 really changes stuff, that something will happen. At least early on, since the patch has gone live, the only deck that has enough data since the nerfs is Quest Warlock, and it's at 71% across all ranks with a very limited sample size. But it doesn't appear to be going anywhere, and I know the vast majority, at least the players I talk to that comment here, just don't want to see this crap anymore. It's not new. It's something most of us are pretty sick of and would just like to have a chance to win with some slower decks again, because at least the rogue stuff, as much as it scans and cheats 1 billion mana and is pretty unbeatable in that regard, you can still somewhat build to beat it, and it doesn't have a card that just says I win the game. So there we go. Weird day one patch review where we talk about quests and then we talk about a different quest. But anyways, we'll have best deck recommendation video tomorrow. Probably gonna see some Demon Seed on that for Wild. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.